Alright, so we're back after a while hiatus. I don't even know how long it's been, but it's been a minute. Chapter 5, In Game's Backyard. Pause. Threads of sky blue light wove through the surrounding darkness, tracing strange patterns in the shadows. Patterns that looked half like circuits and half like writing. It wasn't enough to give much illumination to my surroundings, only enough for me to know there were walls stretching far above my head. If there was a ceiling, it was somewhere beyond the darkness. But where? And I was running. The abrupt shift as the room melted into a blur was enough for the dim realization to bloom. This was a dream. But that wasn't enough to wake me up from it. My subconscious pulled me back into the gloom, and for a moment I forgot that none of this was real. There was a pressing need of building in my mind. I had to find something to stop something. The vagueness of the realization left a swirl and uneasiness in the pit of my stomach. If I didn't stop it in time, we would all... My eyes flew open and I bolted up upright in the bed, an icy breath shuddering from my lips. My eyes darted around the room as one hand found its way to my chest, gripping the neck of my shirt unconsciously. Before I was able to analyze the dream, it faded away, taking all the details with it and leaving only a faint uneasiness behind. A soft, shaky breath escaped as I flopped backwards onto the pillows again. Ugh. What the heck was that? Rolling over, I pressed my face into the bedding. Not the best way to wake up, but, that was right. I blamed Caleb. It was somehow his fault for sure. With another groan, I tossed out the blankets and went to have a shower. The hot water and steam did wonders for my mood, and soon how do you say that word? Girl, I cannot talk. The residual uneasiness from the dream had faded under the assault. It was the stress getting to me. Though training was still composed of running and punching things under Caleb's ever-watchful and critical instruction, but there had been an undeniable undercurrent of pressure since the meeting with Magnus. Train, get better, adapt, and learn to be functioning queen rank. Fast as possible. It wasn't like I couldn't handle pressure. It's always been like that. Study, score the highest on the exams, make prime tier, repeat. Again, and again. In the end, it was the same, or at least it was similar. At least I was doing it for something I loved before. Though there were times I'd wondered if it was true, and usually after several long weeks of studying for exams, when it was right before the test, in those moments I wondered if it was worth it. As if all this studying had been an excuse just to get off this world and somewhere I didn't have to deal with expectations. That's what I thought sometimes anyway. I tipped my head back, letting the water stream over me, or I'd just been in a hurry to get somewhere. I would have been this Esper thing hanging over me. That's depressing, all things considered. I couldn't quite ignore that quiet little shadow of melancholy had been a constant companion the last couple of weeks. Every time I'd shaken it off, something would happen, and someone would say something, and it would rear its head as if it was trying to remind me it was still lingering nearby. That was to be expected. All the optimism in the world and embrace the human instinct to resist change. It didn't help that this... Sorry, listen, I know I can't talk, but I got these glasses on. I don't have my contacts in at the moment. Anyways, and my glasses are messing with me. They're very uncomfortable. But anyways, it didn't help that they still weren't letting me off of the compound, not alone, and not with a chaperone. Any of the bright curiosity about appraisal I might have had was unduly crushed into oblivion by the abject refusal of the council to let me experience it. My dogs are going in. I didn't understand what they thought I had to fear in the city that was under In-Game's watchful gaze. As I sat on my bed a while later, towel drying my hair, I pulled up the day's schedule to double check if there's any unexpected meetings. The day before yesterday, they expanded my access again with no warning. All at once, I had access to my schedule, the weather forecast, internal messaging, which meant no more break-ins, one hoped, and more. People could properly ping me for meetings and everything. Remarkable. Caleb had clearly talked to someone as he promised. He was surprisingly reliable for someone so cranky. A slight smile came to my lips at that. It took far too long, but it was nice to see Caleb and was able to get results. I wonder if he yelled at someone about it. That seemed his usual strategy. The thought of it made me laugh. I still had nothing scheduled for today. I didn't know if that meant there was no news on the relic situation or if they were leaving me out of whatever developments there had been. Either way, it meant my day was free, so long as I didn't leave the building without informing them. Annoying. There was a long moment I considered a daring escape attempt. It was tempting to see how far I'd get if I could just walk out, but the thought of freaking everyone out because I disappeared made me preemptively feel bad. And it wasn't like I'd learned how to use Ari's distortion ability with the intent rather than unconsciously. I could always try though. Otherwise, what would I do? Wander around the same halls? Train more? Training was probably the better option, as much as I hated to admit. It'd probably be wiser to earn more freedom. Not that I should have to earn something so basic, but I could only imagine the irritation if they became even more restrictive because they decided they couldn't trust me. I should save sneaking out for later on if this continues. Having decided I would not sneak out for now, I pulled on a comfortable outfit to train in. I could go down to the archives and poke around, but this seemed more productive. It wasn't as if I had anything else to do anyways. I'd never been to the training room without one of the others. Actually, I hadn't been much of anywhere without someone else since my arrival. If it wasn't Caleb, either Ari or Vanessa glued themselves to my side, escorting me. Maybe they are more paranoid about me trying to run off than I realized. They said it was because they were helping me adapt. It was hard to know if they were actually looking out for me or guarding me. I guess the fact no one was waiting for me outside my flat on my day off meant it was the former. It was strange to walk down the hall alone for a change. I was just going to the training room, but it felt stupidly like an adventure despite that. They got me way too used to having a babysitter from finding walking down the hall alone exciting. Anyway, Caleb once mentioned that he usually reserved our normal room for private use so no one else would bother us while we were working. Didn't surprise me to poke my head in and find others there, but an odd sense of self-consciousness washed over me as I stood in the door and watched unfamiliar people chat and spar. Pushing aside the urge to go find another room, I stepped inside and immediately had no idea what to do. Several people looked my way and the room went dead silent. I smiled with an awkward uncertainty, regretting how much time I'd been spending alone with the same few people instead of trying to meet others. Sorry to interrupt. Is it alright if I work here for a while? No sooner had I spoken, an energetic young woman bounded towards me, a wide smile on her face. Are you the new queen? You are, right? Noria Donis? I read up on your records as soon as you joined. Oh my god, it's so great to meet you. Yeah, it's me. Oh, I'm Birdie. Sorry, should have introduced myself first. She grabbed my hand and squeezed it as she grinned at me. Another individual with a much calmer demeanor was right behind her and coming over, though they were also smiling, if not bouncing with barely restrained glee like Birdie. Casey Harvey. And it's not a problem if you join in. But are you sure you want to? Everyone here is just a recent graduate. We're all ranked though, but none of us are assigned to teams. Is there a reason that should matter? No, higher ranked agents are always interested in training with junior agents though. I usually train in this room. In any case, it's my day off, but I have a lot of ground to cover to catch up. I thought I'd stop by for a while. That makes sense. Given how little anyone else has seen you, it was feeling like they were keeping you away from us. I doubt it was anything like that. It's just been busy. Everyone's been dying to meet you, though. It's just that you're usually, surrounded by my guard. A little. They're probably afraid I'd be overwhelmed with everything. It's been a lot. Well, given your rank, I guess I can understand that. It's so unusual to have someone join at your age. I don't even know how the enrollment would work. A lot of people are interested because of that. Your recruitment had been very interesting. You think you went this long without even knowing you were an Esper? Queen ranks are like that, right? That's what everyone keeps telling me anyway. I didn't know how much other people knew about my recruitment. I suspected it wasn't much. The abduction that I hid, I was an Esper and then I was an F class. The first F class queen, as Magnus put it. I suspected a lot. Sorry, I have to move my foot. My foot hurts. So that was my chair. Anyways, I suspected a lot of it wasn't common knowledge, though I hadn't been told not to talk about it. Maybe that's why the others have been sticking so close to me. It must have been quite a shock when you found out the truth, huh? There are a lot of rumors going around about... Oh, really? Now this is interesting. But you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. Casey prodded Birdie, who took the hint and clamped her mouth shut, but she was still practically wriggling with excitement. I could almost physically feel how much she wanted to talk about it. I'm sure it's difficult to deal with an entire organization curious about you. And rumors are just rumors. Do we want to be confident and say, tell me about these rumors, or do we want to be cautious? Thank you, I'd rather not talk about it. Let's ask. Let's be confident. Fuck it. Now I'm curious. What are they saying about me? The two of them shared a look that got me even more curious. Well, rumor is you were in medical ward when you first got here. That isn't a rumor. I was there for a few days. So everyone thought that, something bad happened. People were speculating it might have been a power surge, and that's how you found out that you were an Esper. PSI fatigue is a constant threat for high rankers. The rumors aren't too far off. I did power surge, which resulted into a nasty case of PSI fatigue. Are you all right now? I'm recovered, so no worries. That's good to hear. There was a lot of talk about how severe your condition might have been. For those that enter in-game, normally by the time our PSI is strong enough to be a concern, we've learned enough to control that fatigue tends to come from some kind of situation that pushes us to overextend ourselves. For someone your age to only start using your abilities, it's probably different. I imagine your PSI is massive already without the ability to control it. It must have been terrifying. It was a bad day for sure. Your family must have been so worried. How are they handling all this? Well, I'm sorry if I touch on something you don't want to discuss. Please tell me. No, it's fine. It's really fine. They were worried and very surprised, of course. I can't even begin to imagine how rough things could have been for you. I've been so busy there hasn't been a time to dwell on it. I can imagine they're hoping to get you up to speed. That's why I've been training with Caleb every day. Their eyebrows shot up. Caleb Zhang? Ah, that must be. I can't believe they're having you work with him. Well, he is a member of the Queen's Guard. That's true, but wouldn't Ari or Vanessa? I don't mind working with him. He's a tough teacher, but I think he's a lot different than he comes across. I know he seems like he's a perpetual bad mood, but, there's more to him than that. He can be helpful sometimes. Besides, they say Rook abilities are easier to start with. Why don't you show us what you learned so far? We're still rookies ourselves, but maybe we can help too? Don't expect too much from me just yet. I've been at this for just a couple of weeks and I've been working exclusively on Rook abilities. I'm a Rook, I could totally help you out with this. I can't say no to a few helpful pointers. I'm not a Rook, but if you want any pointers about Bishop abilities, I'd love some of those as well. It doesn't hurt to get a head start on that while I can. It was kind of great to not start a training session with running laps, and well, Casey and Birdie were fun to work with. Both were a little younger than me, but their energy and enthusiasm were contagious. The other junior agents gave us space after a round of introductions. While I'd been a little shy about working in a room full of people at first, it wasn't so bad. The others sometimes paused to watch, but that was expected. I did my best to stay focused. One thing that intrigued me right from the start was that Birdie's PSI was much easier to mimic than Caleb's. Without the frame of reference, I didn't know how normal my experience was, but I found focusing on someone else's PSI gave me a mental image of a sort of colored light or smoke around a person. Like an aura. I didn't physically see it that way, but that was the image in my head. Like a projection of what PSI was, I suppose. People within the same rank had similar colors of PSI, but different vibrancy and brightnesses, which seemed to be dependent on their strength or skill. When a person used their PSI, the light would change shape, texture, and form to do whatever the person wanted it to do. With Caleb, it had always been tricky to get my PSI to copy whatever he was doing. The texture of his PSI was so complex and manipulating mine to be the same way was so hard. It was difficult with Birdie. Her PSI had a much simpler structure. I could sort of hook my PSI into hers and let its color and shape bleed into me and reshape my PSI. The same proved true for Casey, and once I learned how to do that, it was like being able to dissect their abilities to see how they worked. Logically, I had to assume that it was because they were younger and less experienced, or maybe because they were less powerful. But the lack of complexity made them so much easier to work with. I learned a lot in the first hour we spent together. Besides, it was fun. That feeling of learning something new, of succeeding, overcoming, the satisfaction is brought with it was something that I hadn't experienced since I arrived, and I'm so glad I came today. Birdie was talkative and adorable. She chattered non-stop between explanations and my attempts to mimic her abilities. As I had said earlier, they weren't part of an official team yet. Such teams usually consist of 4 to 6 people, and it was a big deal for one to extend an offer to a new graduate. The usual process was to spend 6 months to a year on a temporary team given simple assignments. After that, they could be recruited into an existing team or form one of their own. There was a distinct hierarchy among the teams with the guard units, of which there were up to 4 at the top. They were ranked in terms of skill level and ability of existing teams, had extensive reputation experience. The new graduates would openly compete for the limited positions on top teams. Less accomplished teams were often sent on border patrol and other mundane jobs. Higher ranked teams got the exciting jobs. I was interested in hearing about the internal politics from the perspective of those at the bottom of the pecking order. The respect and admiration they had for those at the top was palpable. So different from Caleb's ever-persistent cynicism. At the moment, though, Birdie was trying to explain a new technique, not explain the inner workings of endgame. So, as I was saying, not all bricks can do it, but if you're able to release a small amount of PSI the moment you hit a physical target, you can increase the force of a strike even further. Isn't that like a PSI burst? Well, I don't know. I can't create a PSI burst, and the concept of manipulating my PSI outside my body is a little strange to me. But I don't think it's quite the same. With a PSI burst, you're throwing concentrated PSI energy at a target, causing physical damage. Birdie's technique is different because you're releasing a small amount of PSI at the point of contact, adding additional force behind the strike. Can I watch you do it once? Does it help a lot if you observe? She asked this as she took position in front of the punching bag again. If I can observe the state of your PSI through the process, it'll give me a better idea of what to do. You can see other people's PSI. It's more of a mental image than seeing it. Is it not normal to see it? Not at all. I'd say I'm aware of my PSI, but not enough to see it. Those of us with higher awareness-based abilities probably have a clear image of the shape of our PSI, but it's internalized. We can't sense the PSI of other people in the same way. I'm sure it's different because you're a queen rank, right? It's so amazing. So all you have to do is watch me. I'll show you. Nothing. The three of us froze in place when Caleb appeared, arms crossed and customary scowl on his face. And I'll be taking my student back now. I don't have anything on my schedule today, though. It's okay if you need to go. These guys are really scared of him, aren't they? Do you have to glare at everyone you encounter, Caleb? I'm not glaring, this is just how my face looks. I smirked and opened my mouth, but he cut me off with a scowl. Don't say it. Whatever clever retort you think you have, keep it to yourself. I would never. You have a lovely face. Get your ass over here, we're leaving. Casey and Birdie were both giving me a wide-eyed look as I turned back to them. I wonder if they expected Caleb to tackle me onto the mat and beat me up for talking back to him or something. So cute. I guess I'm being commandeered again. Again? Pretty sure it's one of his hobbies. Caleb let out a disgusted noise from near the door. Thank you both for the help today. It was refreshing and very helpful. Sure, if you ever want to come out and work with us again, you can message us anytime. I'd love to. Maybe we can meet up for lunch sometime. That would be so much fun. Message me and set something up. It was nice to see you. Same. Finish. Impatient as usual. I just need to grab my bag. The only thing in it was a small towel and a container of water, both of which I gathered up as slow as possible. I opened the container to check how much water remained and took a slow sip before placing it in my bag. Then I carefully folded the towel into a neat square, taking my time to tidy it for the love of... He stalked me and snatched the towel, shoving it in my bag. I fought to hold back the laugh at having gotten him to snap. Let's go. He stalked out the room, and I, far too entertained, waved to Birdie and Casey before I followed. I hope you realize you don't get bonus points for being an overachiever. You were supposed to have a day off. Of course he had to have something to say about it. I don't get a bonus point. I survive if they send me off on a mission too soon. We've had this talk. You aren't going on any missions anytime soon. Oh? Do you get to say that? Do you get to have a say-so now? Not yet. Not ever, if I understand the command structure here. That he didn't argue. Confirmed I was right. I'm used to being the best at what I can do, you know. I don't see a reason to hide in my room because I have free time, and it's not like there's a great deal... Excuse me. It's not like there's a great deal else I can do. You're not jealous I was getting advice from someone else, are you? What is there to be jealous of? Not like there's anyone better than me to get advice from for your rook abilities. A very amusing hint of pink crept into his cheeks, and I couldn't quite hide the little laugh at his pouting. It earned me another glare, but it was worth it. Where are we going anyway? Back to your place first so you can clean up, and then we're going out. Out? Out. You didn't want to see the city? I did. I didn't think I could, though. You can as long as you're with me. It would have been nice to go out without a babysitter, but considering I didn't know my way around, having a guide wasn't so bad. I'll take it. So glad I didn't go out alone earlier. Suddenly excited, I rushed the rest of my way to my place to grab a quick shower so we could leave. Caleb didn't protest and quietly waited for me to get ready. But now that I knew where we were going, I was too motivated to drag my feet. I almost wished he had told me earlier he would be taking me into the city. I wasn't a fan of surprises. But I guess I wouldn't have gotten to meet Birdie and Casey that way, and it would have been a shame if I'd missed out on that. Their lesson was far too helpful. Either way, the day was shaping up to be much, much better than I first thought. It was less than an hour later than we were leaving the compound, and I was finally getting a good look at Brazel. It reminded me a lot of New Albion in some ways. The streets were clean, beautiful, and busy. Some areas had a newer feel to them, while others were a little old-fashioned, just like New Albion. I guess all cities are similar. Still, it was Brazel, and it was different enough to have me staring at every single thing we passed. Caleb was a decent tour guide. He'd point out interesting buildings like a museum, he said I should visit, or an art gallery or garden. He also pointed out several restaurants he liked, the bar, club, and other places that he said agents frequented for shopping and the like. That one is a good place if you like music and dancing. Van and I go there for drinks sometimes. We drag Ari along if we can. I wouldn't have suspected you were a drinks and dancing sort of person. Shows what you know. You like dancing? I like music. I don't mind dancing. He raised an eyebrow, the corner of his lip turning up. What? I'm trying to imagine you dancing. He chuckled, shoving his hands in his pockets. Mom? I'm sure we'll take you there sometime too. It's a good place for disconnecting for a while. I don't really dance. He smirked down at me, a little breeze catching his hair and lifting it off his forehead. He had a nice smile when the tension finally eased out of his forehead, and he wasn't trying to tease or be a brat. I can teach you if you want. Great, more lessons from you? I'm not sure about that. Well, good luck if you'd rather have Ari or Van do it. Van's dancing is barely passable, and Ari looks terrified if you even mention getting him on the dance floor. I laughed at both mental images. I hope I get to see that someday. I'll plan for it when all the relic business is out the way. I look forward to it. I stepped closer to him. As a couple passed, both of them staring hard. One man whispered something to the other, and then they both smiled before hurrying past. I glanced back to catch one looking over his shoulder at me. He flushed and scurried after the other. They weren't the only two who looked at us like that or stared that hard. A lot of people greeted us as we passed as well, an unusual amount, it felt like. I finally asked Caleb about it. I noticed people here are very friendly, aren't they? Caleb gave me an amused look. What? Everyone is smiling, saying hi, staring. You think people are staring at us because they're friendly? I mean, I guess it could be you. I believe I mentioned how lovely your face is. And there was the eye roll again. Tempting as it is to enjoy your confusion, no, it's not that people are friendly. Many people here are very supportive of in-game, that's all. Wait, they can tell? Or are you famous? I'm hardly famous. It's not just you, and yes, people are noticing us. This area is a favorite for most of us since it's near the tower, so you'll find we get recognized. Agents also patrol Brazel a lot. It's our home. That means it's safer than most other places, and it's sometimes a target. So we get recognized from working too. A target? I suppose in-game did have a lot of enemies. That said, since you're with me, I'm sure a few of them are looking up your profile and seeing you're an agent. They can tell that from my profile. Is there a notation or something? Something like that. Agent profiles are locked. They can't even look at your photo. Recordings are disabled as well, and agents like us are the only ones with our information kept this private. So if I had just looked up his and Ari's profile that day, I'd have known that they were from in-game. Come to think of it, it was weird that they didn't even occur to me at the time. Anyway, if we're out in the field, it's necessary we have a false profile we can enable, so it doesn't attract attention. And with that, I'm going to stop right there, folks. Thank you for listening, and we will be back.